Hey guys, so in this video I wanted to share with you guys the tools that I use when I refashion. Now my toolkit is made up of conventional sewing items and non-conventional sewing items. So I just really want to show you guys what I use. So if you are interested in starting your very own refashion journey, you can go out and get yourself a few of these tools. You may not be able to get all in one go, but you can have an idea and you can get, a few and just continue to build as you go along, because to me, my own is still building as well. Now, before I actually get into the tools aspect, I just want to let you guys know two of the most important aspects of refashioning that you're gonna need to know. I learned it the hard way when I started my journey, and that is patience and time. These two things are super important when it comes to refashioning, especially if you're now starting and you don't have certain skills as yet to execute certain refashion pieces. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're now about to start your refashioning journey. Keep it in mind. You're gonna have to be patient, especially when you would have to fix a piece, try it on, take it back off, fix it again to get the right adjustments of fitting and all of these things. You're gonna need patience, and it's also gonna require time. You're gonna probably see some YouTubers telling you this refashion project is only 30 minutes long. And if you are a beginner, it is probably going to take you about an hour and a half to actually do that project. So again, just be patient and just make sure you have some time to allot to refashioning. Now that we have that aspect out of the way, let's get into the tools, shall we? Tool time! Okay, so let's get into the tools. We're going to focus more on my conventional sewing tools, and I'm going to start with my rulers. And yes, I said rulers, plural. I would recommend you get yourself a yardstick. Okay, this is 35 inches long. All right, this is for those projects that is going to require you to draw some really long lines, and this comes in handy. So a yardstick, a normal 12-inch long ruler. This is when your projects are small. Like for instance, I do a lot of refashion into bags. So I take a lot of clothing, especially the heavy clothing materials, and I like to make bags out of them. So the smaller ruler comes in handy when I have to make small, shorter lines. The other rulers that I use are the curved rulers. So I have a packet here. There are 3 sizes in it, and these curved rulers come in handy, especially if I am refashioning and I need to make a shorter underarm curve, or I need to make my underarm curve a little wider, or I just need to get that curve nice and smooth as possible. The curves, they come in handy. This is a really handy tool, and if you look really close, I don't know if you can see, this has been through World War II with me and back. The amount of scratches it has on it, but these truly do come in handy. So having these 3 rulers, the yardstick, I call it the yardstick, I don't know, I guess it's a yard ruler, the normal 12-inch long ruler, and the curves, they are really good tools when it comes to refashioning. Another thing you want to have in your arsenal is the measuring tape. Okay? Doesn't matter what color, doesn't matter where, measuring tape. Straight pins, also cool to have. Safety pins. If you see a couple of my videos, you'll notice safety pins come in handy. Now, the clips that I use, they are optional. Okay, these little clips, they are sewing clips. They are optional. I didn't get these here in Trinidad. I had to actually order these from online, and I find them super convenient, especially when I am creating my bags. I always say use a chalk or a marker that you can see when you're marking off. Chalk is really a good thing to have, and I think from now on I will stick with using chalk and not the marker, especially when the fabric I'm using, the color is very dark. It is difficult to see the markers. So chalk is a very ideal thing to use when you have to mark off and create marks or templates or lines that you need. Thread. Now when it comes to thread, I get my basic colors in these big rolls. I purchase these big rolls for my basic colors. So you'll see black, you'll see white. I have a navy blue, which I seem to not have here right now, but I have a navy blue, and I have those primary colors in the big rolls because I use them more than any other color. And when it comes to all the very weird colors, I buy these smaller rolls because it's always nice to have these different shades in green and different shades in red and yellows, because you can never tell what color blends well with the material that you're using. So that's pretty good to have as well. So when you're building your thread counts, your threads, I would suggest you get your primary colors in the big ones, the big rolls. It's more economical, it's better for your pockets, lasts longer for you, and get the smaller rolls in the different shades to have. The other thing you would want to get is a seam ripper. Get yourself a really strong seam ripper. I know that you normally get these small seam rippers. They don't last long. Trust me, I will tell you the amount of seam rippers I went through, those small seam rippers I went through before I got myself this heavy duty looking one here. See how big it looks? Bigger than that usual one you will see when you go in these sewing corners of these craft stores. So if you can get your hand, if you can find a nice strong looking one, I suggest you get that instead of the smaller one. Okay, so I had to just switch to my glasses because like I'm looking and then I realized that I started to blink like extra, so like I felt as though I was straining my eyes. Yes, I am in need of my glasses. Anyway, next on the toolkit list is scissors. Now I would recommend you get 2 pairs for your toolkit. One should only be for your fabrics and one should be for everything else. Everything else, such as paper. In my case, I cut a lot of zippers with the scissors, especially when the zippers are too long for most of my projects. And I also use it to cut the leatherettes whenever I'm making my nice little waist bags and stuff like that. I use the scissors. This scissors is solely for my fabrics and my denim and all of these things. That's what I use this for. If you use your fabric scissors to cut anything else, it's going to eventually dull your scissors and you're going to get a lot of stress in cutting fabrics after that. And then you're going to have to go out and get yourself a brand new scissors for your fabrics. And you're going to wonder why this thing only getting dull on me. Maybe I'm not buying the right scissors. No, it's not that. You're using your fabric scissors to cut everything else other than fabric alone. So just remember that when you're getting scissors for your toolkit, remember to get yourself 2. One for fabric, one for everything else other than fabric. Boom. The other thing you want to get is a snipper. Now, I would recommend you try and find a very heavy duty snipper. Why I say that is that normally when you go into those craft stores in the sewing section, you'll see snippers, but you'll see those small, cute, pink looking ones, and they have a tendency of breaking very easily, especially by the blades area where you have to squeeze down to actually snip. That area breaks apart very quickly, and you're gonna have to find yourself very often run into the same craft store to purchase yourself another one. And I speak from experience. The amount of snippers I went through before I decided to get myself a strong one. Now, I couldn't locate this in any of the craft stores that I frequent, so I ended up purchasing this one online. I also purchased my seam ripper that I told you guys about. I also got this one online. It was actually part of a package I purchased. So, but you can definitely find a bigger version just like this actually in a few craft stores around. So just walk around, guys, right? Now, the one thing that I don't have here on my table is my wheel of assorted needles. The little sewing hand needles. I don't have that. I couldn't find it, which means I fling it in a corner somewhere. I don't know where to get it. So, but it's this right here. And you want to get a wheel that has different sizes of the needles. Especially if you're working with a denim, you're going to want a stronger needle. If you're working with a stretchy material, you're going to need a nice small needle that's not going to damage the material. So it's really nice to have those different sizes. So you're going to get yourself the wheel that has all the different sizes in it. That is really good to have. And the reason why I'm adding hand needles, not only are there certain things you're going to have to hand stitch onto your pieces, but it's also there in case you don't have this next to. A sewing machine. I know a lot of you may now be starting your refashion journey. I may have inspired you to start your refashion journey, who knows? And you may not have a sewing machine just yet in your toolkit. That's okay. There are a lot of non-sewing projects that I will be also posting pretty soon, and there are also other projects that require sewing, but it's not gonna necessarily need you to have a sewing machine. All you're gonna need is a needle and thread, and you can do the tacking with that. And also, once I get into my non-conventional tools aspect, you're gonna also see another tool that you can use in the event that it's a lot of sewing required, and you could use that other tool to help you in relation to that. That's it actually for all the conventional tools for the kit. Okay, so for my non-conventional aspects of my toolkit, this is really for when I'm ready to really pizzazz the piece after creating it. Now, I also have 2 no-sew videos up where I created an entire outfit, short pants, top, and I pizzazzed all pair of shoes that I had lying around to actually match the outfit. And I did all of that using this one non-conventional tool, fabric glue. Now, there are different brands of fabric glue. This just happened to be the one that I picked up. And if I'm not using fabric glue, I am using the glue. This is just a fancy bottle they seem to be putting it in now. Normally I get the tube, but I saw this and I was like, oh cool, I could do dots, lines, and broad surfaces. So I just picked it up. Yeah, so I'm either using the glue or I'm using my fabric glue, and these two come in handy. Glue comes in handy especially when you do not have a sewing machine and the project requires some sort of tacking by sewing, and if it's too much sewing for you via needle and thread, you can actually use some good glue to tack those pieces together. So that is a great non-conventional tool to have in your refashion toolkit. Another thing you can have when it comes to refashioning is some good old acrylic or fabric paint. Now I'm putting this up because this is just the acrylic paint that I use, and what I would recommend, there are so many out there, but I want you, whenever you're picking up acrylic paints, make sure and read the packaging and make sure that it is ideal for fabric as well, because there's some acrylic paints out there that isn't really recommended for fabric, and when you put your piece to wash, the paint washes off because it wasn't meant to be on fabric. So if you pick up some acrylic paint, just make sure the packaging labels fabric as one of the things you can use the paint on. You can also just buy yourself some fabric paint. Again, there are a lot of them out there. You can get it in your local craft stores. I normally go into those variety stores and they have a nice craft section. Like those Chinese variety stores, they have a craft section and they have a plethora of paints, fabric paints, acrylic paints. Just make sure when you're picking up acrylic that it is also for fabric. But paint is also a really cool way to refashion a piece of clothing without having to sew it. And because I have paints, I also have an assortment of paint brushes. Now what I do when it comes to the paint brushes, I look for the cards that has like about 6 paint brushes in it, and they come in different sizes. Sometimes what I normally do when it comes to paint, I just probably want to write a word. I can't write a word with this size. So when it comes to writing out words, I actually go straight to these 2 small brushes right here. And I get my lettering pretty cool with these 2 small ones. So getting yourself some paint brushes, and to come out really cheap, look for the cards that has the 6 different sizes on it, and that comes in handy. And it's always good as well to get a bigger brush, especially if the area you're painting and trying to cover is a little much. This size comes in handy. All right. Another tool that I have is a spray bottle. What I do with this spray bottle is actually use it for my bleaching projects. Look out for a project coming soon, guys, but this is what I use. I don't like to go through the hassle too much of having to pinch rubber band, pinch rubber band, pinch rubber. Oh my god, that's too much work for me. I can't. And this is where patience comes in. But listen to me, that is what I just find it tedious. I have to be in a mood to do that. So when it comes to bleaching, I like to give it that spray effect, which gives me this nice scattered look, and I use and get that effect with my spray bottle. So this is also a really cool tool to have in your refashioning toolkit. And last but not least, my jewelry kit tools. Yes, my jewelry kit tools is part of my refashioning toolkit. Now, I have 2 videos up actually where I used grommets to pizzazz and refashion a pair of men's jeans, and also to pizzazz t-shirts that I refashioned into a crop zipped up turtleneck top, and I used grommets to give it a nice design. Now, there are grommet tools where you can use the grommet tool to apply the grommets to the fabrics, but I am sorry, I'm not about to jump out grommet tool money at this point in time. So I found it pretty easy to use my jewelry toolkit tools to help me when it comes to using the grommets and applying them. One of the pliers is a round nose plier, right? So this comes in handy, as well as a small clipper. It's a diagonal clipper, but hey, it cuts. So a cutting plier. And then I have a flat nose plier that I use as well. So those are the 3 pliers that I have in my toolkits. There are others, but I don't use them. These are the 3 main pliers that I use, and they're actually reasonable in price. I paid $45 for each of them. Some places might have it cheaper. If you find it cheaper than $45, kudos to you. But yeah, I paid $45 for them in my local craft store. So the last thing from my jewelry toolkit is my small hammer. Whack, 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 whack. And this comes in handy as well. Remember, keep in mind, refashioning is not just about sewing something. You don't need to sew. All you really need to have, especially if you're doing basic refashioned pieces, like turning a jeans into a shorts, but you want to do a little more and pizzazz that up and make it look more designer, adding different elements to it is what really makes that piece pop. And that is what I always love about refashioning. You can make something pop. Once you have the right tools, you can definitely make that thing pop. And to me, having my little jewelry pliers and hammer, having the paints, the spray bottle, all of these non-conventional sewing kit tools really come in handy when it comes to refashioning. So that's it, guys. Those are my conventional and my non-conventional tools within my refashioning toolkit. They all come in handy, and they all give me a level of creativity because I am not limited to what I can do. So if you're really interested in getting into refashioning and starting your very own refashion journey and just creating your very own refashioned closet that reflects who you are as an individual, it'll be really cool to get these different tools available to you. And again, if you don't have a sewing machine, that is okay. Needle and thread and some good glue, and you is good to go. Okay? Trust me, I can tell you that from experience. So till next video, guys, this is